What's going on, gents? You all right?
Hey Hugo, thanks for calling in, mate.
What's going on, gents?
I'd have to say no, Hugo. I'm not all right. I'm livid.
Yeah, I think we can all tell. Definitely, I think no one's all right after that result. But Hugo, what were your thoughts after that game?
Well, I sort of want to take away from this fixture in particular because we're all emotional and it's easy to go overboard. I'm sort of more focused on the season as a whole. I didn't think we were going to win the game purely because, everyone was saying we're going to win this game comfortably. We're going to win this game comfortably. 4-1, 4-2 is going to be easy. And when we've been in those positions, we've slipped up. And I'm more concerned about the season as a whole and where we think we're going. We sit 10th in the league at the moment. The cup competitions have been decent so far. Been a big surprise to me. But I'm just sort of really scratching my head as to where we should be going. What the majority of the fan base thinks about the season so far. That's what I kind of want to figure out because it chops and changes every single week.
Well, what do you think of the season so far? Like, what as you say, we are 10th, but the cups are going well, which for a lot of people has been their priority this season. And we are, as much as we are 10th, we are also 3 points off third right now. So it's very, very tight. Things can change very quickly. So if we're just judging by how you think we've played this season, what do you think?
I think you've got to make a distinction between the league and the cups. I think in the league it's been really poor. 5 wins and 5 losses and a draw. I spoke to you guys on the first game of the season after the Leicester game. And, I said in that game that I think we're not going to be very good in the league this year because we have ambitions of going far in the cups. And that Leicester game was really, really typified what I expected the season to be like. We're going to have a lot of the ball. It's going to look very appealing to the eye. And we're going to be able to beat teams like West Ham and Villa who don't game plan us properly. And we're going to have these amazing results. But we're also going to have these big slip-ups where we don't score goals and our attack looks completely fraudulent. I think the league campaign so far has been really, really poor. We are 3 points off third. That's true. And so, it's very tight in that mid-table race, which is sort of unprecedented how tight it is there at the moment. But to me, that is more of an indication of course, the Premier League, the margins are tight and the margins are tight at the moment, but we have the most experienced manager out of all those groups and we have on paper, the best squad out of all those groups. I don't think our squad, man to man, is worse than Villa's, worse than Newcastle's, worse than Brighton's, worse than Villa's, worse than any of those teams. And we sit behind them. And after the Arsenal game and the Newcastle game, we're 4 games in. I had a pretty good idea of what the season was going to look like. We lose those 2 games tight margins, but to me, those were games we deserved to lose. I don't think we deserved to win those games. Yeah. And then we went on a really, really interesting run. To me, the Coventry game was really, really interesting because it's the first time I've seen this ANGE team win a game when we didn't deserve to win. Usually all our wins have been games where we've outplayed the opponent and we've been able to get lucky too. The opponent has to waste chances and we have to take all our chances. The Coventry game to me was a big turning point in the season because it was the first time we'd won a game without deserving to win it. And then we went on a really important run in the Europa League and we beat Brentford and Man United. And now we've sort of gone to this Jekyll and Hyde form, and I really can't. I can't really pinpoint it. I think at this point you can start questioning. There's a mentality issue for sure.
Hugo, actually, can I just interrupt quickly? Sorry, because that's I really wanted to ask you this because you said you think our squad is kind of better than those teams around us, right? And maybe in terms of maybe I agree with you in terms of kind of technically, but I think in terms of mentally, I think all those squads you mentioned are better than us. So when I saw like Aston Villa, for instance, even though we absolutely panned them 4-1 in the end, that first half, I was like, they're just mentally so much better than us. They know how to play professionally, how to take their fouls when they get it, waste time, all of that kind of stuff. All the stuff that you need, just as important as your technical ability, is your ability to get through games. And I would say even today, Ipswich, who've only been in the Premier League for a few months, mentally smarter than us. And that's where a lot of the work has to be done, I think.
Yeah, and but that to me that's coaching. When you're talking about managing games and getting through games and seeing games out, that's coaching. That's not due to individual ability. And 2 years ago when Conte had his spit after the Southampton game, when he talked about the mentality, the players aren't, this club isn't ready to compete for, serious, significant things. Since then, we've cleared out a lot of that deadwood, a lot of the Ndombeles, the Højbjergs, older players, Dyers. We've cleared out those players that were older, were a bit jaded, had seen the worst days at Tottenham, and we've replaced those with young, hungry footballers, which has been a deliberate change by the club and by the management. And so I'm not really here for this argument that these young players who, by all means, should have the desire to prove their worth in the Premier League, have the desire to fight for results. I'm not buying this idea that the players are not fighting and they don't have the mentality to fight. I just don't think they have the direction. And which is exactly the words I used after the Leicester game. There's plenty of enthusiasm. There's plenty of fight in this team, but there's no direction. There's no channeling of that enthusiasm and fight. There is fight across the team. I believe there's a desire to do good things and to play well. I just don't think the direction is there. I don't think the nuance, the final touches are there to push the team up into the ascendancy. That's my personal observation, is that when you look at the Brighton game and today as well, Ange has done the same thing. He stood there and said, the players have put us in this position and they're going to have to work their way out of it. He deliberately left Maddison on the bench until the 84th minute, made changes very, very late in the game. And that's his philosophy. He wants to put it all on the players. That is evidence. He's deliberately left his hands off and said, the players are going to have to figure this one out. I'm not going to deal with this because it's the players' fault. He did it against Brighton, and he's done it again today. To me, but
it clearly doesn't work, Hugo. That might end up getting him sacked, no?
Yeah, of course, and I totally agree. That I'm talking about what he's doing. I don't think he should be doing this. I think he needs to. I think he needs to go out there and make an impact, a material impact on the game. But that's his philosophy. His philosophy is that he's going to be at the club for forever, and so he wants to instill it in the players that they have to get themselves out of these situations. But that's not going to be fruitful because he's going to lose his job. You need to be more pragmatic. You need to be more capable of getting results game by game than just thinking about the long-term vision, because you're not going to have a long-term vision if we're not good enough. Currently, we sit 10th, and you made some interesting comments about the board and whether they believe in the project, and if they believe in the project, will they give Ange more time? For me, the summer window was a clear indication to me that the board didn't fully believe in the project, and they played it safe. I think from their perspective, they're saying, look, we've given Ange these tools, we've given him a striker, we've given him some young players. If it doesn't work out, then we've got Archie Gray, who will be our midfielder in 4 or 5 years' time. We've got, Odebear and these players to come in. I think that's the mentality. I don't think the mentality is that we can do some serious damage this season. And what I'm seeing right now is the two things are not meshing properly, and that's why Ange is saying a lot of things in his press conferences that are make you go, huh? Why did he say that? We've got a win now manager, a no nonsense win now manager, who's coming out and saying that he's ready to develop talent instead of signing it, and he's here for the long term. He's here for the long term process, even though he's never been at a club more than 2 or 3 years. To me, that is a really huge red flag. When what Ange's been saying this season has greatly differed from the line he was toting last year, which was that he wants to win the league every year that he's there. He's there to win trophies. And he's come out and now we're in a process. We're going to have to wait. The mentality needs to grow from within. So he's trying to toe the club line, whilst also trying to, back himself and not throw himself under the bus.
So he's trying to keep his job, basically.
Contrary lines coming out from Ange, and to me that is a huge red flag. That to me was more so than one game where we lose to Ipswich or one game where we lose to Crystal Palace. To me, Ange's sort of, a little bit flakiness in press conferences has been more of a concern to me than a 2-1 loss to Ipswich, because these things can happen. But the performance today was, when Brennan Johnson missed that sitter in the second minute of the game, to me that was a sign that we weren't going to win the game, because it was just like the Leicester game. It reminded me so much of the Leicester game. We're kind of cruising. We're kind of all smiles. We're creating some chances, but Ipswich had the much better chances throughout the whole 90 minutes. They had all the chances. They were much more clinical than us, and they had 30% of the ball. Really sort of embarrassing. And you're right. The way they managed the game, the way they held the game out, it was like they were bloody Bayern Munich and we were Tottenham. It was really poor. Really poor. Yeah.
we have now failed to win in our last 3 games post a Europa League midweek game. In our last 3 attempts. So is that a pattern for you? Is that something that you think we really struggle to juggle both the Europa League and the Premier League?
Well, I mean, I said that before the season that we were going to struggle with that. You know, to me, this Ipswich game isn't a result of playing midweek. That's got nothing to do with it. You know, I just think the players just didn't show up. I think it's more of a thing of we're playing Ipswich at home, and we're relying on our home form. And, you know, we believe that if we play our football, then we can beat anyone and we can win the league and we can win all the cups. That's sort of the mentality that they have. And I think that can lead to performances like this where we show up and we go, as long as we keep the ball, lads, as long as we have the ball, they can't hurt us, and we'll just play our football and we'll just score. We'll just pass the ball into the net. And you know, Ipswich weren't having any of it. They set up really well and they defended. I'm not a psychiatrist. You know, I don't know about the sort of midweek thing about injuries and all that stuff. I don't know if that is a factor. I don't think it was today for sure. I just thought today was just a disgraceful performance from top to bottom. I just don't think anyone out there really wanted it. I don't think anyone out there really felt like putting in half a shift to get that result. You know, we can talk about individual performances. I think as a fan base, I think most of the fan base are fed up of fans just slagging off Timo Werner and slagging off Brennan Johnson. And I think we're all fed up of that, to be honest with you. The issue is bigger than just Solanke or Werner or Brennan Johnson, or it's bigger than one player. The issue is much bigger than that. I just want to figure out from the fan base what they expect from this season and where we should be going with this season, because I do think that there is more to get out of the season than just up and down, a mid-table finish, which is where we will finish at this rate. And I don't see how Ange can keep his job, to be honest, after a result like this. I personally don't.
You think you would sack him tonight?
I'm not saying I would sack him. I just don't see how the board can keep him. The only way the board will keep him is that because it's the cheaper option, not because it's the right option. The board won't keep him because it's the right option for the project. They'll keep him.
You're saying so you are saying you would sack him.
Well, I'm saying the writing's on the wall for him. I do think that. And if the writing's on the wall for him, then it's a matter of how long do you wait? Really, I do think the writing's on the wall for him, because I just think that I think Ange himself is running out of answers. Really, I think he's sort of and you've got a caller called Yuri who I really agree with a lot of the things he's saying, and he said on one of your talk shows that he believes that Ange is sort of running into brick walls with the fans, with the board, with the results, and I do believe that. I think he himself is not ready for to him it's unprecedented how up and down and how much we've struggled. You know, this is the second season, Ange. First season, all I heard was this is a practice campaign. Give Ange time. The second season is when we judge him, and now the second season's come. Now we're saying that Son's washed.